Hi, everybody. My name is Bo Sanders. I want to talk to you about the formula for success, especially in ministry. So, several months ago, I went to this ministry conference, and one of the things that the presenter put in front of us was this formula for success. So, normally, I am allergic to formulas. I do not like them. They're too prescriptive, and I'm leery of them. But there was something about this one that really resonated with me. So the formula is pretty simple. It's focused intensity over time multiplied by the God factor equals, and this person said growth. So I knew that that may not float with my crowd, and so I knew that I may have to tweak that final thing of growth to success. But when I presented this, it did not go over well. In fact, in anything that you do, you can kind of expect a bell curve, and that a certain amount of people will, be really into it, and then there's the large majority, the big belly, and then there's going to be this tail end. And almost everything that you do, you can kind of expect that as a reaction. What really caught me off guard was that in every time I presented this in my audience, and I've tried this in different environments now, both here at my church and in different ministry circles and at seminaries, and the reaction is usually exactly the same. A quarter of the people object to each of the four elements in the formula. I find this amazing. So let me walk you through this real quick. So when it's focused intensity over time multiplied by the God factor equals growth, okay? That's the formula. So some people really object to the focused intensity part, and they said, whoa, but what if you're intensely focused on the wrong things? Like cults are intensely focused on the wrong things. That's not success. Well, okay, I guess so. I guess that's a good caution. Second group of people objected to the time thing, and especially in mainline churches like we're in, where there's a decline narrative on, for a lot of churches, the vision is entirely to keep the doors open. Like whatever it takes to keep the doors open. And so some people said, time is the exact thing we don't have. You can't say over time. Time is our enemy at this point. We don't have time. That's the problem. Okay, yeah, that seems really concerning. A third group of people said, whoa, what's up with the God factor? That doesn't sound right. God, no offense, isn't that reliable? I mean, sometimes things work and sometimes they don't, and sometimes people are healed and sometimes they're not, and sometimes marriages stay together and sometimes they don't, and you can't count on that. That's not a given in an equation. You can't just say the God factor and say yeah, God's definitely going to bless this. If you're focused on the wrong things, maybe God's not going to bless that. Okay. Some people don't want to count or rely on the God variable, okay? And then a fourth group of people said, wait a minute, are we sure that growth is the end game? Isn't it being faithful to our calling? That may be a small band of people that are faithful to their calling. Why is growth the measurement of success? Because I had tried to tweak that and say, sometimes growth, sometimes success, but it failed either way. So this really opened my eyes to the fact that we live in a very complicated time. And while you may be able to take shortcuts in our language and say oh, we all want success, or we all want blah, or whatever it is, be faithful to our calling or whatever. There are some underlying assumptions that cannot be ignored. They really contribute and determine and quite radically alter what you are talking about. And so these shortcuts, while they might be helpful in one way to picture what we're up to, they're actually can be equally as confusing, because if you're focused on the wrong thing, then focused intensity isn't success. If you don't have time, that can be a real limitation. Depending on what you mean by God, that can really change what you're talking about and how you talk about it. And then if you don't think that growth is equal to success. So I just wanted to throw this out there and see if anybody had any feedback. Talk to me about the parts you like and don't like, and let's compare notes.